start? Should we give them time? I don't know. I don't know what the rules are in a world where we have a theme.
No, just.
All right, here we go.
Whether we should play. Yeah, okay, let's go.
Here we go. Here we go.
Happy hour. Natty Tax happy hour. Natty Tax happy hour. Dig.
Yo, and a happy hour it is. Happy most of a night. It's most of an hour.
Have you ever hated a band because people liked them, or like because of the kind of people that like them?
I'm a little nervous about this because Mike TV is a friend of mine, and
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know what your beef is, but it doesn't belong. He literally just wrote the theme song, so I don't know where this is headed.
No, before we went live, you were playing the Doors.
Oh, I was gonna ask you if you
Yeah.
ever went through a Doors phase, because like I'm a little bit older, and the Doors came and went for a previous generation, and right around like I guess Nirvana hit or whatever, and
Yeah.
people were like, "We want more of this." They're like, "Well, there's Soundgarden and Pearl Jam," and they're like, "Who else?" And they're like, "You know who sounds like Nirvana is the Doors." So like the Doors kind of rode that garage band wave. Like they, for some reason, they were concurrent with the grunge movement.
Yeah, well, I mean, so my experience of the grunge movement was kind of in middle school. So like that was something where like that was all encompassing. There was like all the like rap and rock that was like kind of happening in the moment, and Death Row Records, and like so like there was like that cornucopia. But then not until high school that some people would just get really into the Doors. And like almost universally was I annoyed by it. I was annoyed by it then, and then you playing it before the show immediately re-triggered how annoyed I was with people that were really into the Doors.
I am so happy that I played that because I was wondering if it was a universal experience, because I was one of those people that was annoying you. But I was doing it before it was cool, which
was approximately 15 years after it was cool.
Yeah, but there was that brief obsession. There was that Oliver Stone movie. I hesitate to go back and listen to much of the Doors because I think they had some god awful songs. Let me see if I could track down one of them.
Well, yeah, look, I don't even necessarily have a problem with the Doors, the band. Like, I more just have a problem with like everybody being all fake deep and like, you know, trying to act like, I mean, because in context, we're talking about the late 90s here, where you got a bunch of skinny ass Florida teens that are trying to pretend like they're Jim Morrison. And it's like, it's obnoxious when you go back and look at who Jim Morrison was. I can't imagine being around Jim Morrison. Now you are like the fourth generation douchebag who's tried to run this fake deep, like shaman, kind of aesthetic that is just, I don't know what it was, but that is an element of my bias that has never gone away.
God, and you're so right. And the part that just blew my mind was when you said late 90s. I was like, what? I was like, no, it was 1991 was the resurgence. Like, what is this late 90s?
No, because I think, we were already into the into the post, like there was no rise and fall anymore. Like, yes, there would be a measurable thing, but
that's right.
We were into Napster at that point. So it's like, if you wanted all of the Doors, especially with the nerds that I hung out with, like you would be able, you burn it on one of those CDs that would let you put 300 MP3s on it. And like, you're like, yeah, I have all the Doors now. Anyway, let me light incense and drink and be like, hey, this is what being a Doors fan is. And it's like, shut up.
This is
Dickweed.
number one, man. You just brought back some memories because I was so excited when I bought one of those replacement radios for my Jeep Grand Cherokee that would play 300 songs
all
on
those
it.
old,
Yeah.
Oh,
But
dude.
man, the Doors got bad and weird. Just 1 minute of this.
Left me here to sing his song. Pretty little girl with a red dress on. Poor Otis dead and
So far,
gone.
like imagine teenage Brian, like, yeah, man, I like the Doors and Deep.
Yeah.
Oh.
Back down to and slowly
Oh my
try
God.
it again.
Yeah, something, whatever this is. I remember when.
It was easy.
Yeah.
Try it again.
I also like the Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Too easy.
This is cool. I'm cool for listening to this album.
All right, look at my shoes. Not quite the walking blues. Don't find so much to lose.
I feel like we've done a night attack
I
bit
think- I
about
think- I think
this.
we did
I'm
do it.
almost, I'm almost positive
I
that
am
we've
certain.
done a night attack bit. Yeah, look, the Doors, I don't know where they are if he doesn't. I mean, Jim Morrison is the Doors. Like, I think that
Yes.
everyone,
Everyone,
the music itself is they're Steppenwolf, right? Like they have the same chops as Magic Carpet Ride.
Well, and this is as is evidenced by the fact that I believe they never had a bassist. All of their bass were session people, and I think I don't know what's his name. I want to say Ray Kurzweil. He was okay on that creepy electric organ thing, but I was all in. I read his poetry, Justin.
Oh my God! God! Thank God we have an age gap because I might have never spoken to you again.
I am the
Like,
Lizard King. I can do anything.
I actually, well, no. To be honest, the person that annoyed me the most was one of my best friends. So maybe I just have a type. But like, yeah. I also don't like poetry. Like in general, I always like kind of found poetry just one of those like, write a story, weirdo.
just say it. Use
it out.
verbs. Don't just
Spit it
say a
out,
bunch of
Junior.
nouns. What the hell is that crap?
Well, in fact, one of
lonely
the earliest
woman.
things.
A hollow night, thunder, rain, despair, loneliness, an affair.
God, what
Sorry,
was
I'm
it?
writing
Oh,
poetry.
No. So one of the earliest things that I did during the after school club that we had with Andrew, that he came back to the high school that he had gone to earlier and I was currently going to, had this after school critical thinking club, right? And so one of the things, because it was very open, he was always like, hey, what do you guys like, what's on your mind? And for whatever reason, I just get on my high horse about how I think poetry is bullshit and how it's stupid and how it's like the most worthless art in the literary world because it is all about like put garbage poetry in a old bookcase and everyone will think it's good. Put the greatest poetry in, staple it to some community college
In a zine.
thing, and they're like, whatever. It's like there's no objective way to measure it. And so we did a thing where I think we rolled the dice and literally randomly composed a poem. And then we all, as a little trip, went to the local library and I read the totally nonsense, randomly generated poem, and everybody clapped.
Well, I mean, but if your point is there's no accounting for taste, wow, Weinstein, where'd you come up with that one? I mean, it's like
Okay, understand that this is a full of piss and vinegar 14-year-old version of me.
Sure,
right? Like,
sure.
So this, yes, I am learning these lessons
Right.
as we are, as you know. So yeah, I am younger than Penny, but I'm me, and I'm very sure of my opinions, and I have blah blah blah. So yeah, no, I and then I pissed off my buddy's girlfriend, who was like really into poetry, which a lot of it was really
Well,
just
and-
me trying to get under her skin.
So you make it to that point. I hit that kind of early in my 20s. Early in my 20s. In fact, I think it was when I discovered the variety arts. I'm like, oh, that took talent and practice and skill and something more worthy than wearing leather pants and being an asshole. That's real art. You're a piece of shit, everyone else. And then I think it was until maybe 3 years ago that I mellowed on that. I think I had an unfair bias against artsy fartsy and voodoo shaman blah blah blah. But then reading what's the Harari book? Not Hominids. That was a dumb book. Somebody in the chat is going to fix it. Where he talks about how art as a military technology. Basically, that's why there are no Neanderthals. Is because we were able, as a species, Homo erectus, sapiens. That was the name of the book, Sapiens. In the book, it talks about how he theorizes that sapiens were able to have these symbols and these beliefs, and you could meet a stranger who is a sapien and say, hey, I believe in the seven-headed God. And he goes, oh, cool, I do too. And he's like, what do those people believe? Hey, what do you believe? And they're like, we don't know what you're talking about. And then it's like, let's murder them, person I just met.
Yeah.
And it's like, sure, let's go. And then they did it. That's not a direct correlation, but I started to soften between that and the righteous mind, where Haidt says we are 90% chimp and 10% bee. And then you look at a football game and you look at a religious revival, and it's hard to tell the difference between the ritual, the synchronized motion, the everyone's saying the same thing, no matter how nonsensical at the same time. Oh man, there was one college that's a bunch of engineers, and their cheer, I believe, was e to the x, e to the y, e to the x, dx, dx, dy, cosine, secant, tangent, sine, 3.14159, nerds. And it's like, there's something about, and that's dumb, bad poetry. But when everybody does it at the same time and then cheers together, whether ironically or not, then you become kind of a hive and a powerful thing.
Yes, that's fine though. But that, to me, what's impressive there is the organization. You can say literally anything. It could just be like, go blue, which literally is what people will often say at a game where the team has a blue color.
That's poetry.
What's impressive is 120,000 people saying it at the same time, to me.
Yeah.
Or 8 people saying it at the same time. Whatever your, like, it is the coordination that is impressive, not the worth of go blue. Although go blue is certainly worthwhile enough that it is a delivery method to be there. So I'm not degrading poetry there. What I will, the hill I will die on as a 37-year-old man is that there is a tremendous variation that you could probably invalidate with a double-blind test on the quality of poetry. Like that
sure.
That you could put it in a way that is not quite the same for television or movies or novels or other things that are a little bit more substantial. Poetry is about where you're feeling and about what you're. It is so ephemeral that I often find it to be, if not snake oil, close to snake oil.
So here is where I might poke at your theory just a little bit, because by that same double blind test, 3 chords is music and jazz is not.
Yeah, I think it's harder to play 3 chords.
What?
I think 3 chords meets my 3 chords meets my minimum requirement for skill in a way that most poetry doesn't.
We already talked about the fake jazz album that the dude who played Archer did, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, case in point, like that's jazz. Jazz is the equivalent of that random number generator poetry.
And yeah, that's I mean, it's not necessarily well, I mean, look, I also just kind of get annoyed with poetry people. And I think that gets back to what you were saying about like, oh, the idea of the leather panted douche.
Nihilist. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right,
Yeah.
I finally accessed the name, John Benjamin. I don't know why I couldn't access.
I challenge Justin to write poetry that satisfies his criteria. No, because I'll actually do things that are worthwhile with my time. I've made a career of turning my creativity into my art. And I think that literally what we're doing right now, the art of me and you having a conversation, is more worthwhile artistically than most poetry I've ever read in my entire life.
Now, having said that, though,
Here, let me qualify one more specifically short form stuff. I think whenever you're going longer, like it's like, okay, well then there's structure and stuff like that. I'm talking more of the like the totally disconnected or unrhyming or whatever kind of stuff.
how short is short form?
I don't know.
Yeah.
For the record, if you're going to gather my artistic hot takes from happy hours over the last few weeks, parody songs, underrated, poetry, overrated.
Yeah. I don't know though. Here's one. I don't know. I memorized it in second grade, and I'll bet somebody will recognize it. But it was, and I'll be interested to see if anyone knows who wrote it. But it's called My Beard. My beard. Oh wait, hold on. Oh shit! I thought I had it. I said it for my kids all the time. My beard grows down past my toes. I never wear no clothes. I wraps my hair around my bear, and down the road I goes. I know I'm messing up the first line. So Shel Silverstein, overrated, underrated.
Oh, I know he gets a pass.
Right.
I like Shel Silverstein.
Right, I knew it. He writing articles and stuff in Playboy magazine. Punk Rock magazine.
Yeah, well, no, I was Where the Sidewalk Ends was one of my like favorite books as a kid. So I don't know. Maybe I'm painting with too broad a brush on poetry.
Lazy Jane. She wants to drink water, so she waits for it to rain.
Yeah, like I don't know that kind of stuff. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't like my friend's girlfriend. You want to know what's funny? What's funny though? She now is a listener to PX3 and emails me every once in a while about PX3. And I was very mean to her. I mean, that was a moment where you're just like finding out where how sharp your knives are when you're in, high school. And I was probably way too mean to her.
My beard grows down to my toes. That's the first line. But I have no doubt that if not a lot, almost certainly a majority of teenage Doors fans annoying AF. Like just as a class of people, insular and overly conformist about being a nonconformist and just dumb as hell and don't know it and very punchable. I totally believe all that.
Oh my God. And then they're going to be the one that they try to drink red wine and they throw it up and it's just going to be a mess. Like
they're smoking cloves and.
Oh God. Well, no, now you're moving a little bit into like the Smiths. That's when sometimes you can go from Doors to Smiths where like now you're into like the clove. Now we're getting a little bit more into the emo stuff where it's a little less like, because Jim Morrison is confidence, right? But it's
Swagger.
It's so swagger that like I'm seeing things that you don't even pick up on right now, man. Follow me down the road.
Is that part of why you're enjoying that documentary? Which the more you described it, the more I cannot wait to watch.
That documentary disturbed me. It disturbed me. It disturbed me because I could think of people I knew that would be like, hey, this is great. And like all
you
you have to do.
This is a system.
So the idea is, and it's the same as anything else where like, it's the Executive Success Program, ESP is what they call it. It's like this stuff is smart. It's layered. They did a very good job like of getting people in, but unfortunately nobody in these situations can see, wow, this is such an expertly laid way for me to spend $2,500 for each 5-day excursion thing that I do. Instead, it all becomes centered around you are sabotaging yourself. And we can now, because we have mapped out the science of joy, we can help you get closer to that. And there's just something about the language they used of this wasn't magic. This is science. This is provable. And here's this flow chart. And you look at the flow chart and you're like, yeah, I mean, it looks like something I would see in a psychology textbook. It looks like something that I would see in a therapy textbook. Like, it looks like something that is legit. And they got 1 million of them. And they were all written by one guy. But he's not David Koresh.
He's no Jim Morrison. I mean, look at those pants for one.
He's just kind of a quiet scientist who doesn't like talking to people all that much. And that's why he has this other lady running. It was just like, it was so, to me, and maybe I'm reading into it, but it was almost tailored to people that get into skepticism and atheism and are very excited that they were able to break free from religion or what they feel to be a superstitious mindset. And then they also realize that their life isn't all that much happier than they were before, beyond that first burst.
Well, and that also rings true of, success seminars or whatever. They give you a short-term high. You come out super pumped, but it's not sustainable. It doesn't last in and of itself. And also, it's biological. We just talked about, being 10% B. It sounds like whether you're an atheist, a skeptic or whatever, like you do the moves, you get militarized. I mean, that's literally why the army sings songs and marches together.
Well, yeah. So like, I don't really want to make this about a religion thing, because it was really that has nothing to do with the documentary. That's more my own subtext that I read into it just because of the people that like get sucked into this kind of thing. They are creatives who are very dialed in, that if you sold it to them as, no, this is a spiritual solution, they'd be like, fuck you. I don't, get out of here. No, sorry. If they literally did the exact same thing and then it just ended with, you have to just get in touch with a force beyond you.
So in other
they'd
words,
be like, get out of here. And instead it was like, you just have to get in touch with this really smart guy. And they're like, all right, now we're talking.
So you're saying that they read it in the library and they got applause.
There we go. And the story, if you're not familiar with the NXIVM story, it goes some dark places. And they don't even touch at where it eventually goes in the first episode. But did you ever see the documentary, What the Bleep Do We Know?
Oh, fucking Christ. It was so that came out around the same time as Brian Greene's The Elegant Universe about string theory. Now, keep in mind, string theory I don't know where it's at right now, but mid to late 90s, string theory was a way to blend, I believe, 5 different models of the universe and explain how they're all really one thing. The PBS 2-part 4-hour documentary is very enjoyable to watch, and it explains the fundamental forces in the universe, including electricity, magnetism, and how they were fused into electromagnetism, the weak nuclear force, the strong nuclear force, and then and explains the problems and Einstein's theory of general relativity, like wherever string theory is right now. The bulk of it was exquisite and beautiful, and we talked earlier about teaching lessons about mitochondria with symbolism and MCU characters or whatever. Like, they did it. It was great. Also, along with that comes out What the Bleep Do We Know, which has all of the trappings of the Elegant Universe, and some things that are kind of true, like if you're touching something, technically your molecules are only repelling other molecules, so you're not really touching it. But the moment, like, there comes this moment where I'm just like, yeah, this sounds kind of like wish fulfillment bullshit. And then at the end, they reveal, because they intentionally hide who all their experts are. And one of the experts you've been listening to the entire time is Ramtha, a 3,000-year-old Egyptian being channeled through a middle-aged woman.
Yeah,
with a shitty Victorian accent. I've never been, and then I got so mad when I was talking to my dad about the Elegant Universe. He's like, "Oh, Dad, man, I love all that stuff. That and What the Bleep Do We Know?" And I'm just like, no!
Brian, if you have animosity to that movie, can I tell you that the director is a main focus of this documentary, and his life gets ruined because of NXIVM?
Oh, okay, all right.
In fact, I'm almost positive that he is the reason why that documentary is as good as it is, because he winds up getting involved with them and shooting a bunch of stuff for them. And so he has not only footage of all the key players explaining all the tenets of NXIVM, but also all the raw footage. So they are always just able, as people are recreating and telling their stories, they're able to just have that file footage of the main guy, like, looking kind of like concerned or amused or whatever. Like, he is a gigantic part of this documentary series.
Well, now I'm afraid I'll be engaged in Schadenfreude, because I really hated that movie. But I also feel a burden, a responsibility to watch it now.
If you want to know the kind of people that would get involved in NXIVM, literally 3 or 4 of them are like, well, I love What the Bleep Do We Know?
Yeah. Oh, The Vow. That's what it's called. Yeah.
The Vow is what it's called. Yeah. First episode aired last night on HBO last night, but I mean, I don't know what it is between being just skeptical of organized skepticism and groups, and especially the, like, utopia ones. There's this thing out here, Bri, like with like adult summer camps and everything, where like even this footage that we're watching right now, that's B-roll of all their team building activities, that just, it's all a bunch of adults running, playing, tug of war, and it's just like this connect to childhood stuff, where I'm not saying it's inherently bad. I'm just saying that very often lost people get sucked into paying a lot of money so somebody else can tell them to, color and, give each other nicknames. And I just, beyond, I'm willing to eat the L on being the cynic on this, and maybe it's unfair to the idea itself, but boy, did it just bundle up all these things that I like have animosity or hesitance toward, and then said, oh yeah, this is this other story, that leads to dark, effed up places.
Well, and I mean, I guess, man, it's weird because I could think of so many other examples. Like, I think part of Houdini's success was because in a time where it was woefully inappropriate to get naked, he could say, hey, man, I'm going to escape. And I know what you're thinking. I got something hidden on me. So out of pure responsibility, I'm going to give all y'all the titillating thrill of seeing me get either mostly or completely naked, but it's only to prove that I don't have a secret lockpick anywhere. You got to look everywhere.
Did Houdini have a hose? Do we know?
What's
like,
that?
Was he packing more heat than the sun? Houdini?
I don't know. There's probably private collection photographs of the full of the full Dini.
Of the full, the Dini that hooed.
But I am certain that logical reason to put yourself in a titillating position to be physically aroused causes you to think, well, I can't be physically aroused because I'm enjoying this titillating whatever. It must be for logical reasons. Yes, it must be because his show is so good that I stood up in more ways than one.
Yeah.
And then, whatever. You just keep changing the excuses, but you eventually get somebody to play strip poker, and then they get titillated.
Yeah, man. I'm pumped for you to watch it, especially considering the fact that you have such strong opinions on what the blank do we know.
Oh.
Because it is really, you would probably dig it the most, mostly because it is such a breakdown of like, it is more Tony Robbins than it is Scientology. Like they get you in on less of the like, no, this is a reaction to, medicine and organized psychology and everything. And it's much more like, hey, do you want to finish that fence? And you just can't get around to doing it. Like,
here's the
come on in. Yeah, look, it's a little expensive up front, but I'll tell you what, look at all these testimonials about people that they didn't just build a fence. They built a castle. Anyway, 10% off offer code. We'll see you later.
Did you ever watch the Netflix documentary I'm Not Your Guru about Tony Robbins?
No, I didn't. Was it good?
It was, if I remember correctly, it has plenty of moments of him. I mean, it's titled "I Am Not Your Guru," and there's a definite.
And this is produced by him, right? Or was it produced about him?
No. Like,
is this the one he tried to sue out of oblivion?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe. It definitely had. I don't know. He went through like a Me Too phase where
No, there was a big article that I read that was all about his organization. But yeah, it was like in the Me Too stuff where.
No, it's sort of a mixed bag. I don't remember it having a strong conclusion, but it shows him at what I believe his fans perceive him at his best, making, pushing people to make transformative decisions or whatever. And it also shows him at what I think his detractors would perceive him at his worst, which is like getting a woman and in an effort to say, hey, man, everything you've told me in the last 30 seconds about your boyfriend sounds like you need to break up with him right now on the phone, on mic, in front of these 3,000 people. And let me socially pressure, enlighten, bully, pick your word. Let me keep saying words until you cry and call and break up with your boyfriend in front of 3,000 people. I mean, it's remarkable. How about that? I think it's worthy of a watch.
Like there is, and this is where we kind of get to the unifying factor of like, we're well aware when we do live shows that we want people to have that moment. We want people to have that moment where they're laughing out loud. And then we're both of the same school where it's like, yeah. And then we want to hang out with everybody. We want to make sure that everybody has that moment where we're all like, you know, in a social environment, you feel fun, funny, powerful, exciting, right? Because that's, you know, in our world, that's community building. That's, you know, trying to give the people that spent their time and money to come see you something back. But there's no doubt that whether it's yelling "Go Blue" in a football stadium, whether it's singing a hymn or hearing a testimonial in church, whether it's going to a Tony Robbins thing, these moments bind us. These moments are transformatory. They are revelatory. They are the things that we use as the stepping stones to life.
I mean, I mean, we joke about not being a cult, but secretly being a cult and all that stuff. But I will, like, one of my most precious memories forever will be, number one, being amazed at how many people showed up to our Dragon Con panel, and then like at the end of the show, I forgot who said it, is almost certainly you. Somebody said "Diamonds in the Sky," and just seeing 400 hands go up with the Diamond Club symbol at once. It was just like, it was electric. Also, sometimes something happens in the chat that's so good, you have to pause everything and go back and explain it.
Yeah.
We were talking about Houdini and the lockpicks hiding. Spider by Zero says, maybe Houdini picked the locks with his dick. And then Fearless Freep says, so a dick pic? Which it was too good.
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you what, I don't know where to land on the line of, like, when you watch the NXIVM thing, to a certain extent, I think people will have a different reaction of where this goes from force for good at a steep price, because these people are still paying a lot of money to be a part of it, to a cross the line, like, level, like
a predatory thing.
Well, yeah, and if you know kind of where the charges eventually come down, then you can take a guess at where some of this kind of leads. But in terms of, like, what is the line between, let's say they're kooks, but, like, they have these moments where it's a lot of the same Tony Robbins stuff. They're, like, challenging people on their beliefs. They're stopping them on certain words, and they're backing them up and saying, no, let's see what you just did there. You tried to deflect. Let's go back in there. Tell me more about this childhood memory. Let's go and identify. I forget what their terminology is for it, but basically it's like removing regressive thoughts or something.
I mean, it doesn't matter what the coat of paint is. If you get somebody titillated or ashamed or, like, pressured into, I mean, think about a hypnosis show. It's the exact same thing. What you do is you start with a very small ask. Who would like to try to be hypnotized? And then people self-select for participation. The stage crowds, and there's 100 seats up there to imply that this is a very normal thing and you should volunteer to try to be hypnotized. And then you eliminate people who aren't reacting as fast or as quickly, and then you make a small ask of imagine it's very hot out. How would you act? And then it's like, oh, yeah, no, fan yourself. Yeah, keep fanning yourself. Keep fanning yourself. Oh, now it's cold. Now it's cold. Now, I didn't say imagine that it's cold, but we're playing the imagination game. Now it's cold. Now it's cold. And then you're eliminating. And then it's just like now participate, if you will, as if you had forgotten where your dick is. And then it's like, where's my dick? And everybody laughs. And again, what you're doing is you're titillating and you're proving that oh my God, cooperation equals you being the star. And then all of a sudden you drop the language, any kind of equivocation, and you say, you are now hypnotized. And it's like, you are Britney Spears. And then you hand them a microphone, and then the music starts playing.
Yeah.
And they have, and this is the distinction of whether or not hypnosis is real. Here's a fact. If I walked up to a person on the street and said, "You are Britney Spears," and handed them a microphone and started playing it, they'd be like, "The fuck is this?" Right? But in a sequence of incremental bits, you prime, you speak beneath the level, you reward, and it's like, I know, there are 3,000 people out there, and I know one goddamn thing. If I pretend to be Britney Spears right now, I'm gonna be a
Everyone's
fucking
gonna-
god.
Yeah.
And then or I could be all like, what is it? No, it's like, it's not gonna happen. Not gonna happen.
Yeah.
Right? Exactly.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of that happening as well.
Oh, without a doubt.
Which means hypnosis is both real and not real, because they do feel the
then
electricity.
the question is, did you get that out of someone, or did you very specifically sift through like somebody panning for gold and find that one person who would, if you randomly like were on the street and you were to play "Oops, I Did It Again" and hand them a microphone and say, "You're Britney Spears," and everybody turned to look, that they would go do it, because you have now sifted, like, really what you're doing is picking out, "No, you're not going to do it. 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 This person's the ham.
Well, and
This person is."
And here's the other thing: when it comes to extraordinary stuff, like you're gonna think you won the lottery, and now you're gonna post-hypnotically always think that's in your pocket. That's a thing the human can do to himself, him or herself.
Yeah.
Is condition his mind, or forget a thing. Like, you're not gonna remember anything, but you're gonna feel great. Like, you can choose to not remember things and feel great. It takes a bit of conditioning, and you gotta activate some of that B state. And get out of chimp state. But I mean, I don't know. Hypnotism is weird. It's 100% real and 100% fake.
It's fascinating, but it is another manufacturer of those moments. And again, the same moments that are there for church, the same moments that are there for Tony Robbins, the same moments that are there for Dragon Con, the same things that
At an EDM concert, I mean,
oh yeah,
that's mine. Everyone's like, "Oh, that's just the drugs." It's like, no, man. It's everybody moving, synchronized, and you lose yourself in a group. And that's why people jump on grenades, because they know their body will explode, but that they will live on through their platoon.
Yeah, it's to be honest, I mean, that the crowd rush is why I love pro wrestling, because to me there is no other crowd situation where everybody is in. Like, to me, pro wrestling is everybody's acting like they're hypnotized. Everybody is there to say, we are here to believe that this fake fighting is real. And more than that, the more we are dialed in, the more the performers cater to us. The entire art form is unlike anything else except for like jazz, faced toward the audience.
Right.
It's not like an artist expressing. And so now it is about making those moments in a way that I can't think of any other art that does it. But the big fun is losing yourself. The big fun is and screaming and yelling when you might not have otherwise screamed and yelled.
That it becomes a shared hallucination, and you become part of the story. Dad from Canada asks, has hypnotism ever been performed in private, not in front of a group? Well, I mean, there's other aspects as well, like affirmations really do work, and they're cheesy. If you say, "I like myself," or "I'm awesome, I'm the best," or "I deserve $1 million raise," or whatever, if you get into that rhythm, it really does transform, if not temporarily, then in the long term, permanently, sort of like your self-perception of where you belong. And in that regard, a hypnotist will do that for stop smoking or lose weight. It's basically an audience of one, and walking through sort of they call it self-talk. There's a really great no-nonsense book called Unfuck Yourself, by this Scottish dude who says if you don't believe you have self-talk, then you're full of bullshit. From the moment you wake up till the moment you go to bed.
Oh, sure.
Even right now, while you're reading this, you're running self-talk, and you can change that. And that's what therapeutic hypnotism tends to focus on. is changing your internal self-talk. Like I am, you start running the routine of repeating, I am not a smoker, or I hate cigarettes. The smell disgusts me, or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, I think that we are all of this, every single version of what we've talked about all shares two things in common. Number one, you are going to put yourself in a situation where your brain is not used to going.
Right.
Like in hypnotism, it's slowing it down or at least the private affirmational kind of like hypnotism, and not the, pub quiz, first night of orientation hypnotism. The church, whatever, like you are doing a thing you don't normally do, and then you are going to cement the behavior that comes out of it in your head. You will always remember it more. You will always have more of a feeling about it. And some of it comes from you being embarrassed. Some of it comes from you being excited. Some of it comes from you being sad. Some of it comes from thinking faster or thinking slower. Like there's all different ways that you can get there. And yet so much of our society is built on top of it.
Man, I'm getting texts. There's a thing we have to wrap up, but also think about this, a hypnotism show. Imagine if under hypnosis in front of 3,000 people, you signed a pledge or a contract, and then your social group became all of those people who watched you do it. And let's say the contract was something along the lines of, I will always try my best, or I will double my income, or whatever your goal setting thing is. If you read Robert Cialdini's book, Influence, he talks about how they did experiments where they primed two different neighborhoods. One, they just said, hey, you want to recycle? Here's a recycling tub, use it or don't. But the other neighborhood, they went around and they said, hey, you've been selected. We think you're a great citizen. Do you want to sign this pledge to recycle? And even though nobody saw the pledge again, even though it was never public, just the act of writing down their name, compliance for recycling went way, way up. So imagine if that's supercharged with being part of a new science or whatever, and you see actual results. Like you're not going to not do the thing because you've pledged to do it in front of everyone. Anyway, hey, a good show. Wow, that got deep fast. Thank you, Jim Morrison.
Yeah. God damn it, he was right. No.
Hold on, here we go.
Happy hour.
Oh, here we go.
Nat Attacks Happy Hour. Nat Attacks Happy Hour.